Welcome back to the Two Guys, Two Dogs, Four Wheels, and as you can see, I'm back in the motorhome. Today is the day. We are off to the Fiat garage in Corby, Rockingham Motors, where we're going to get the vehicle plugged in and checked over to see if they can find out what was really going wrong with this whilst we were away in France. So come with me today as we see what Fiat tell us. So coming up the hills towards Clermont-Ferrand, we've lost some power and the gears aren't changing properly as we go. This could be a problem. We did have a, what should we call it, minor hiccup as we were coming down into the Midi-Pyrenees, and we were near Clermont-Ferrand when we lost complete power going up the hill. Now, it kind of left us in a position where we were climbing up the hill at around 20 miles an hour, so had to get into the slow lane and the hard shoulder. So we took a break at the Air near Volvic and we let it rest for a bit because we have been driving through a combination of things today. An 8-hour drive because we wanted to get as far south as we could. It peaked out at 38 degrees and obviously we've worked the engine a lot on the mountain roads going up and down. So we did have a second blip where it did it again, but for the last couple of 100 miles it seems to have sorted itself. Now we've hit the weekend here in Millau, so we're going to see what we can do. I've got the number out for the breakdown company. We've located where the nearest garage and Fiat professional is. But we're going to see what it does as we come back up out of the valley as we leave Millau to determine what we do next, because we'll be then heading into the working week, and if we do need to get anything done we'll change our plans. Thrown a bit of a spanner in the works today. And we're just on the outskirts of Corby here. Corby being that ex-steel working town, was known as a mini Scotland to many when the workers came down here in the 50s and 60s. Now a big industrial location, lots of warehousing, lots of new houses gone up around the place as well, and we're now going to weave our way around some of those industrial estates to get us to Rockingham Cars, which are a small family business that have been in this neck of the woods for many years. I remember them as a kid back in the day, and I've now got a big showroom and workshop on the edge of the town. Interestingly, as a little fact for you, I also work in this neck of the woods. I work with a few schools here in Corby and know it is a very friendly place. So was delighted when this dealer was very helpful in getting us booked in for their Fiat professional services. Here we are, so I just need to work out now where the workshop bit is really.
You have reached your destination.
Let's just see if we can get this parked in here. It's a bit tight, but I think we can get in. There we go. And we're here. Well, I'm on the way back from Fiat, and as you can see, the heavens have opened. So I will explain what they've told us, what they've found when I get it back to the storage.
The all-new AT8, an 8-speed automatic transmission. This innovative addition promises to enhance the driving experience for Ducato owners, improve efficiency, and further solidify Fiat professionals' commitment to providing versatile and customer-centric commercial vehicles.
With the launch of the Fiat Ducato Series 10, they also brought in the adoption of the AT8 automatic transmission that's running across their vans, and therein their motorhomes and campers that are based on this vehicle too. Now, whilst they have boasted improved driving, improved performance, better comfort and a reduction in CO2 emissions, it is interesting that they are saying that this vehicle can cope with motorhomes up to 5 tonnes. Given that our vehicle is 3,650 kilograms, I am surprised that it can cope with the 5 tonnes, because at times it feels like it's probably at its limit. Also to note here is that this is based on an automatic unit that has been used in family cars for some times. It's had its roots in the Fiat 500X as an automatic and across many of the Stellantis brand vehicles. There are very few issues being reported at this stage, but you have to bear in mind that the vehicle has been around for what is coming up just 12 months. In the 2025 model year form. But dealers and the workshops are clearly getting some intelligence starting to come through around some of the specific niggles and flaws and quirks of owning a vehicle with this combination. Our Fiat dealer here, for example, has said to us that they are hearing little reports around vans that they service that aren't coping in the larger form and when they're fully laden with things like the DPF filter and the regen, and with the braking issue that I will explain in a little bit more detail in a moment. Some vehicles will need a software update if they've not been configured for the van setup with the Ducato. Ours, luckily, is not in that position, but it may be worth checking this through if you do own one of these. Whilst there is no software update for ours and Fiat aren't reporting any recall issues that they need to bring to anyone's attention, there are cases coming through, particularly in Europe. I've seen a few German YouTubers who are seeing this similar position with this, gear hunting for 6, 7 and 8 when you are on an incline or on a hill. So this is something that you'll have to consider and monitor if you do experience it yourself. We certainly will be watching out. Other than that, the drive of this vehicle is cracking. It's smooth through the lower gears, it pulls off nicely, cruises comfortably when you're on the motorway. And we are starting to think, was this just a combination of the circumstances of that day with driving for so long, in the heat, up and down the hills in the Pyrenees, putting the pressure on the brakes as well. Maybe we have just triggered some sort of warning on the sensors that caused it to step into a limp mode. And just like that, we're back at the storage. And just like that then, that trip to the Fiat dealer is done. I have to say they've been super helpful and have given us some clear indications of what possibly caused the problem, but also some little snippets, if you like, of what they know is potential known issues that can arise with some of these engine gearbox combos. So good news first, no engine management issues, everything's driving as it should when it was out on test, and when they've plugged it in there are no fault codes, there are no historic fault codes, there's nothing to show that there's a particular problem there with the engine or the gearbox at this point. That said, they are aware of one or two things that they know can cause some confusion and sometimes can cause the symptoms of what we had, particularly when we were in the Midi-Pyrenees going up and down those mountainous roads. So where we had been driving for a number of hours, bearing in mind the age of the engine, there is a little bit of a known thing around the DPF possibly getting clogged and needing to chuck out the muck from the back of the van. We did have some advice online around keeping our AdBlue topped up as well, which we did do. So some of that loss of power could have been connected to that, particularly with being up on the hill and if fuel levels were at a certain level at that point in time as well. So that could have been one of the symptoms, and it's just something to watch out for. The other thing they are aware of is heat coming from the brakes at the front. Particularly with the location and the setup of the engine and the engine bay. So we'd been going 8 hours or more driving, and particularly in that last bit where we'd got the mountain roads coming down, there probably was some more braking there than you'd normally have on a normal run. Can cause some of the sensors to think there is an issue and some overheating. Nothing's showing on the fault codes, but it is something that is being reported in and something that they know. And also that they are aware, and there are no software updates for our particular vehicle. We're up to date. There's nothing from Fiat that needs to go on to these 140 brake horsepower 8-speed autos. There's no software updates for us. And with that, he said, you've just got to bear in mind that they're aware of, and have seen this with some vans, the gearbox was initially designed for the Fiat 500X, which was like their small SUV vehicle that has been replaced now by an electric 600, but it was originally stemming from that as an 8-speed. So in its first incarnation was never designed for vans. Now obviously therein goes, it was never initially designed for the weight of motorhomes. So they've said probably, yeah, 3650, the MT-PLM, if I've got the letters the right way around, on this vehicle is probably at its limit with that. But there's no software update needed to do any remapping at this stage. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, see what happens. But touch wood, everything is okay. But I might do a little bit more reading on what's going on with DPFs and these brakes. And I'm certainly interested to keep my eyes on what is going on with these gearboxes if they were never designed to be used in this application. Clearly Fiat Stellantis as the parent group must think it is good enough for this. We're not overweight, we're not running overweight, but we're probably at the limit of what this engine combo can cope with, given that it is a motorhome. Now that in itself I think is something that we should all as motorhome owners pay attention to, because how many of these vehicles are on a Fiat, and how many are now coming through on the automatic? Yeah, I think this is going to be a watch this space. There we are. No faults to report. They've told us we're good to go. The vehicle's in good health. So let's give it a test run on our next trip out. Thanks as ever for tuning in, and we'll keep touching base with this over the next 12 months, I think, and periodically give an update if we need to. Cheers, guys.